Hey guys, Nick here from Nick's Taxes. Today we're going to talk about the new home office deductions that Canada has recently just put in place for the 2020 tax year. Back in the fall economic update, Canada announced that Canadians are going to be able to claim up to $400 in home office expenses for those Canadians who had to work from home due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So today, December 15th, Canada has just released more information as to who's going to be eligible for these expenses and how we can claim these expenses on our 2020 tax return. So in today's video, we're gonna walk through who's gonna be eligible and how we can claim it so that way you can claim this home office deduction on your 2020 tax return. But before we jump into the content, if you're new to the channel, hi, what's going on? I'm Nick. I make personal tax and finance videos as well as some investing videos on a regular basis. I try to keep you guys as updated as possible when it comes to Canadian tax matters. So if that's of interest to you, please consider subscribing. Also, if you get value out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel grow and it gets this video out there to more people who find this kind of stuff useful. So especially if you're watching this video and you're looking at doing your 2020 taxes, you're gonna wanna be aware of this home office expense if you've been working at home due to the pandemic. Now, to give you guys a little bit of a background, before the pandemic started, oftentimes people who worked from home had an agreement with their employer where either the employer would cover the home office expenses or they would not. And if they didn't cover your home office expenses, you were able to expense your home office costs on your tax return. And there was an agreement and there was a form that your employer completed for you called a T2200, and that allowed you to claim your home office expenses, things like utilities, internet, supplies, things of that nature, things that you basically need to keep your home office up and running so that you can actually work for your employer. Now, with the whole pandemic and stuff that started in March, a lot of people ended up being shifted from working from home, but they didn't have a really solid home office setup. Some people were working in their bedrooms, some in their kitchens, some in their spare bedrooms. And a lot of these new home office setups don't actually meet the qualifications for the home office expenses that Canada originally had in the Income Tax Act. So what they've done for this year is created a temporary COVID work from home claim that we can expense our home office deductions for this time period. Canada recognizes that there was so many people working from home, they needed to do something about it. So just today, December 15th, they've released more information and we're gonna check that out right now on the CRA website. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here for you guys to take a look at, and we're gonna walk through the new temporary home office expenses. So what's new? The changes. There's now a new temporary flat rate, or there's a new modified detailed rate if you want to claim more than $400. But in today's video, we're just going to talk about the flat rate. So here it is, the new temporary flat rate. It simplifies your claim for home office expenses. You're eligible to use this new method if you worked more than 50% of the time from home for a period of at least 4 consecutive weeks in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. You can claim $2 for each day you worked from home during that period, plus any additional days you worked at home in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The maximum we can claim for this new temporary flat rate method is $400, which is the same as 200 working days per individual. So the eligibility for the temporary flat rate method, we'll get into that in 1 second, but some awesome news here. With this method, we don't actually have to calculate the size of our workspace, and we don't need to keep supporting documents for our claim. Also, what's big for the employer side is that they don't need to provide us with a T2200. You only need that if you're going to be claiming the detailed method. So we can claim up to 200 work days, it said. So what counts as a work day using the temporary flat rate method? Days you worked from home using with your full-time hours, or days you worked your part-time hours from home. Days that don't count towards your work days are obviously your days off, your vacation days, sick days, or other leave or absence days. Now here's the more information regarding the other options to claim the actual amounts that you paid. I can talk about this in a separate video if you'd like me to go through the detailed method and how that's going to work and what expenses you can claim there. But for today's video, we're just going to be talking about the temporary simple method. So let's go into who can qualify. So the temporary flat rate method, we are going to look right here at who can claim the temporary flat rate method, okay? So here we're going to go into the temporary flat rate instead of the detailed, and here's the information. So in order to claim the home office expenses, we must meet all the following conditions here. You worked from home in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now the question is, what if you had the option to work from home or go to the office? And Canada has said that if you had the option and you chose to work from home, you will still qualify for the deduction. So I'm going to give that a check here. I'm sure a lot of you guys were in that boat. I know I was in that boat with my employer. We had the option to go to the office, but we were encouraged, if we could, to stay at home and just kind of stay safe and not bother going to the office. But some people did choose to go to the office. All right, other thing, you worked more than 50% of the time from home for a period of at least 4 consecutive weeks in 2020. You are only claiming home office expenses and are not claiming any other expenses. Your employer did not reimburse you for all of your home office expenses. Now, my employer, what happened when we all shifted to work from home, gave us an amount of, I believe, $300 at the beginning of our work from home shift to kind of help us kickstart our home office. So if you needed like a new office chair or a computer monitor or supplies or help cover internet costs, they gave us up to $300 to make those claims. And Canada's saying if you are in that boat where your employer covered some of your costs, you can still claim these new home office expenses. But if your employer is covering all of your home office expenses, you will not qualify. So those are the eligibility criteria. If you're still in the boat where you can qualify, let's take a look at how we can actually claim this on our 2020 taxes. So how to claim using the flat rate method, we're going to take a look here at how to do it. So confirm you're eligible. Yeah, we've just done that. And then step 2 is fill in the form. So the form is really simple, and this actually is an easier look than what the form actually is. And it's just the number of days you've worked from home within the period, maximum 200 days, times it by 2, which is the temporary flat rate amount. And that is going to be the amount that we can claim on our tax return, up to $400. So the form is now called a T777S, and it's called Statement of Employment Expenses for Working at Home Due to COVID-19. Now on this form, it has our option 1, our temporary flat rate method, and the detailed method as well. If you want to go into the detailed method, that is there. But for the purposes of this video, we're just looking at option 1. So here is where we're going to enter the total number of days we worked from home in 2020 due to COVID-19. We're going to enter it there, times it by 2, and that's going to be the value amount up to $400 that we can enter on now line 22900 of our tax return. If for whatever reason, say your days worked from home was 300, right? You times that by 2, it equals $600. The maximum result we can enter in is $400. So even if you have 300 here and you times it by 2, you're going to only want to put $400 in this line to transfer onto line 22900 of the tax return. Okay, so that's where it's going to end up going on your 2020 tax return. It's going to be under what's called other employment expenses, and it's going to be an expense on your tax return, and that should help lower your taxes for 2020, which is really good. Canada also has here saying that they could potentially review your claim. Each year, the CRA conducts a certain number of reviews to kind of maintain the integrity of the CRA and also to instill confidence in Canadians with the tax-paying system. And so the CRA might send you a notice to kind of review and validate your eligibility for these expenses. Canada says this with all of their expenses. I'm not really sure what this is going to look like, to be honest, for the temporary flat rate expenses, because we don't need to calculate the size of our home office. So there's no proportions or anything like that. And we also don't need to keep any supporting documents for our home office claims. So I believe as long as you claim up to the $400 expense, they probably won't be coming to you for a review, because I'm not really sure what kind of supporting document they would request for this claim, especially when they're saying you don't need to maintain your supporting documents to claim the temporary method. So I'm not too worried about what that's going to look like. I think that's just going to be an expense that Canada just goes right through and processes without any issues. But hey, we'll see what happens in 2021 when Canada starts processing all the 2020 tax returns. Alrighty, so that is the new simplified method. It's a $400, up to $400 of expenses for our 2020 taxes. If you got value out of this video, again, just please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any questions, as always, drop them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them and get to them. But yeah, until next time, I'm Nick from Nick's Taxes. And as always, happy taxing.